Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, the biggest scientific breakthrough since the invention of COVID vaccines in record time are anti-COVID pills made by Merck and Pfizer. Together with vaccines, these pills will be a game changer and will, it is hoped, end this pandemic. But India needs to act fast, and we need to act now in getting into contracts with Indian manufacturers who've been licensed to make the drugs. Already America has placed orders worth billions. India cannot wait a minute. That's our first focus on Left, Right and Centre tonight. Up next, shares of the beauty startup Nykaa made a blockbuster debut today with its market capitalization crossing 1 lakh crore. We bring you an exclusive interview with Falguni Nair, India's richest self-made billionaire. She started on Nykaa at the age of 50. That's at about 9:30 p.m. this evening. We then analyze the remarkable story of this company. The next big breakthrough in the fight against COVID is here, and India has a chance to be among the first nations in the world to manufacture or import billions of doses of a series of new antiviral pills, which are, without a doubt, the biggest game changers the world has seen in the fight against COVID since the first vaccines were out. Missing the boat on this opportunity will prove costly in protecting more than 1 billion plus Indians. Remember, India was slow to order and roll out the vaccines. The human cost was then seen during the second wave. Now, we just cannot be slow in any rollout of the new antiviral pills. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, in the last couple of weeks, Pfizer and Merck have developed Paxlovid and Molnupiravir respectively, two pills that have shown extremely high efficacy in anti-COVID therapy. On the 5th of November, Pfizer has said that Paxlovid cut hospitalization rates by nearly 90%. Merck has reported that its pill Molnupiravir cut rates of hospitalization and death by 50% if treatment was given within 5 days of onset. Both pills are given for 5 days. Pfizer's regimen, 3 pills in the morning, 3 at night. Merck's regimen, 4 times in the morning, 4 times at night. Now, Pfizer's drug is in a class of medicines called protease inhibitors. That blocks an enzyme that coronavirus needs to multiply. Merck's pill, different science. It's called a nucleoside analog. That introduces errors into the genetic code of the virus, which makes it tough for the COVID virus to evolve. Which brings us to cost, because the science in both cases is really impressive. And impressive science costs. Well, the US government doesn't seem to be bothered because they've already secured millions of doses of Pfizer and Merck in deals worth billions. It is expensive in America at about $700 per course, or more than 52,000 rupees. But don't go away. The situation in India very different, most likely. Before I come to that, the United Kingdom. Now, they've already secured 250,000 courses of the Pfizer drug, price not known. The World Health Organization, in a program, aims to get the drugs for as little as $10 per course eventually. And here's the good news for India, we hope. Merck has entered into non-exclusive voluntary licensing agreements with established Indian generic makers, all recognized by the WHO, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, Emcure, Hetero Labs, and Sun Pharmaceutical Industries, which means the drug could be in India at a significantly subsidized cost, perhaps even a few thousand rupees. That's because Merck says it'll use a tiered pricing strategy for developing countries. Pfizer says they will eventually come close to this price. We still don't know the price, but hopefully whatever it is will be at a level that India can afford. One way or the other, India needs these drugs, and the government needs to move whatever the price. Well, we've got a fantastic panel on this tonight and on these game-changing drugs. But first up, we've got Professor Devi Sridhar, Professor and Chair of Global Public Health at the Edinburgh University Medical School. Thanks very much, Dr. Sridhar, for being with us. Are these genuinely game-changing drugs which take us one big step forward in fighting against COVID, perhaps bringing an end to the pandemic phase?
Yes, this is a massive step forward on par with the vaccines, because what this means is people could get this in their pharmacy, out of hospitals as soon as they test positive, and not have to go into hospital, which has been a problem. We have seen the burden on health services, on health workers. So this, especially if combined with testing and vaccines, these are the tools we need to end the pandemic.
And in terms of the technology that is there in these drugs themselves, what makes it very special, very new in terms of the ability to take on COVID in those who've actually contracted the illness?
Yeah, so if we look at the other therapies that have been used for COVID, these have largely been to avoid people dying who are already in a severe state in hospital. Think of the trials of dexamethasone, of remdesivir, even those for hydroxychloroquine. And we've seen it's been difficult to find things that would save people once they're already quite critically ill. And so the difference with these two is it's for people who just test positive, might even have mild symptoms, but to prevent them descending. The problem with COVID has usually been the first week, it's okay. And the second week is when you see the descent into critical illness. And that's where this, if given in the first 5 days, very early on when people have symptoms, can mean you don't see that descent and can actually keep people at home and make this a mild treatable illness and make it manageable, which is what science has been trying to do with a lot of infectious diseases.
The benefits of actually having a pill which somebody who's unwell can take at home as opposed to actually getting a vaccine, which is also important. But the fact that you've just got a pill makes it so much easier, doesn't it, to actually deal with COVID? Psychologically as well, the difference between, going to a hospital, getting more expensive treatment, or perhaps getting an injection and just getting a pill, several of them, it needs to be said, it's still huge, isn't it?
It's massive. It's a game changer that we can have an oral way that people can go to a pharmacy and just get a course of 5 days of pills, go home, take them at home, and recover at home. And means you also don't need to have a doctor necessarily there, which we know has been a problem, enough medical staff. This could be a pharmacist, it could be a nurse, it could be those who are trained health professionals who can give it. And so I think right now we are now, you outlined so clearly, heading towards availability and cost and manufacturing. The science is now done. Now it's the logistics and the pricing, and can we get this into different parts of the country so that when people do test positive, they can immediately go and access this and that it's affordable, because we know the pricing in the United States is very, very high.
And that's another aspect of this. The United States has actually, put orders in. They've committed upwards of $1 billion to get the Merck vaccine, and also I believe have contracts with Pfizer. The United Kingdom has acquired 250,000 doses, I believe, of Pfizer. This is very similar to what happened when the first vaccines came out, when a couple of developing countries just went in over there, committed finances and procured orders. Is there no fairer way of doing this?
Well, of course, a fair way would be that we vaccinated, let's say, health workers everywhere in the world, and then we moved down through the risk groups. But unfortunately, we know that rich countries, the United States and Britain, will be looking to get out of lockdowns. Huge loss of life in most of these countries as well. In the US, 750,000 people have died. In the UK, 150, 160, I have to look at the latest numbers. So there's huge pressure on these governments to find solutions. But it's great news that Merck has allowed generic manufacturers to go ahead making this, saying that actually they do want to save lives. It's very similar to the, I think, antiretroviral story of let's bring the prices down, let's manufacture enough, and then get them out to where the need is.
And Merck has actually announced differential pricing. So developing countries will have the price cheaper. In India, for example, 5 companies which are well-known and recognized generic drug manufacturers approved by the World Health Organization will be making it and supplying the entire world, or whoever wants to buy it, not just India. That's going to be the game changer, right? So what the line of treatment, which is $700 in the US, would actually be much less in developing countries.
Yeah, this is a brilliant way to do it, because obviously pharmaceutical companies want to recoup the cost they put into developing these. So you can't say to them, okay, you're not going to have any profit, but they are making substantial profit in rich countries. They are making the money back and far beyond. You only have to look at the share prices of Moderna and Pfizer and other companies, Merck, to see how well companies have done through this pandemic. So I think it's right of them to say, okay, in other settings, we're going to have lower pricing to make sure people can get it and it becomes available. Because this is about saving lives in the end. And they have, there's a question of how much profit is enough profit at this point when they know they'll have a continual market in European countries and in across North America too.
All right, and just in terms of where these drugs stand in terms of safety and efficacy, peer reviews, phase 3 data, has that all checked out? I mean, I haven't seen anything in Lancet. Perhaps I've missed it.
Yes, I think this was one of the issues. Well, Pfizer even more knew, but with Merck, that they moved very, very quickly from the initial trials to saying that ethically they could not continue the trials because the people being offered the placebo could have been offered the life-changing medication and thus survive. So they said for ethical reasons, they had to stop the trial and immediately start administering these pills out. So in a way, we haven't gotten the full results yet to review because the trial was seen as saying it's unethical to keep providing placebos when you know already there's enough of an evidence that these pills are working. And so in a way, they're a victim of their own success that right now we don't have more data in because they wanted to start getting them out to all patients who needed them rather than keep giving placebos to certain people in the trial.
And in the United Kingdom, when do you expect them to start rolling out, the drugs that they've contracted for?
Well, the Merck drug has already been approved. I think the UK government was the first to go ahead and approve that earlier, I think it was last week. And so it is going to be rolled out, I think, immediately as soon as they get the supplies in. And same with, I think, the Pfizer. I wouldn't be surprised if it was approved later this week or next week. Right now in the UK, we have rising case numbers. We have hospitals filling up. We know there's a huge climate change conference, COP26, happening, which means they're expecting a spike off the back of that. So they are getting ready for the winter, and that's involving boosters for those who are vulnerable and the elderly. It's involving asking people to work from home, wear masks in crowded settings, but also now looking at therapeutics and treatments to say, how do we keep the burden off hospitals and try to get these into GP practices or into pharmacies?
All right, Professor Devi Sridhar, thank you very much for joining us. It is absolutely a game-changing drug, and countries around the world need to get this as soon as possible. Supply is going to be a big issue going forward. Thanks very much indeed. Well, joining us now, Dr. Ram Vishwakarma, the advisor to CSIR, the chairman and COVID strategy group of CSIR joins us. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. We're also joined by Dr. Shashank Joshi and Dr. Ishwar Gilada. They're all fantastic experts who've looked very closely at COVID. But Dr. Ram Vishwakarma, where do we stand right now in India in terms of accepting these drugs and manufacturing it?
So, Vishnu, this is India's advantage.
Right.
India is a master of making pharmaceutical drugs, and no company worldwide can supply required demand of the drug without India's manufacturing capacity.
Right.
So right now, I call this the final nail in the coffin of the virus by the science. You have seen these fantastic vaccines and now therapeutics, and this is the playground for India. So I am not at all worried about the availability of both these drugs. And let me clarify, the first drug, Pfizer drug, is not one drug, it's a combination of two molecules. Right. So there is a molecule and there is a molecule called ritonavir, which is already manufactured in India in large scale by several of our companies. Right. So,
Dr. Vishwakarma, I'm just trying to understand, have both Merck and Pfizer approached the government of India saying that, look, we have this and we need to work with Indian manufacturers?
Yes.
I know Merck is working with 5 Indian manufacturers. We've named them. Is Pfizer doing the same?
Yeah, so discussions are going on. And let me tell you, for last almost 1 month ago, Dr. Vinod Paul chaired a number of meetings, and the entire focus then shifted from vaccine to therapeutics. So I think very early on, the policymaker in government of India realized that this is the time for focus. So I think discussions are going on. And the way Merck has given this license to several companies, Pfizer will also do, because Pfizer will have to utilize Indian capacity to manufacture the drugs that are required for the global use. So I think my view is that this is India's advantage. And I think these are the two drugs which will make difference that, and importantly, let me add things, as we move this from pandemic to endemic, these are the ones which are going to be more important than vaccination.
Dr. Vishwakarma, I'm just trying to understand how soon before the government of India commits to orders in the billions, because, and I say that because each course is 8 pills a day or even 10 pills a day, depending on which drug. So you will need to buy billions. When are you going to commit to this? I ask this because America has already put down billions of dollars.
Yeah, so I'm not in a position to commit that, but I think with the experience of second wave of COVID, there is a sufficient calculations of what type of numbers we are going to deal with. And I think there will be, Vishnu, I can say that there will not be problem of availability and affordability of both these medicine in our country. That I'm pretty confident. I can tell you that. Yeah.
So, Dr. Vishwakarma, again, it really is the most important question. When do you believe that these are going to come online in our country?
I think the molnupiravir will be already available to us. 5 companies are sitting with the drug manufactured. Regulator, the application with the regulator. I think any day we will have approval of molnupiravir. The second drug which Pfizer has come, like I told you, half of is already being manufactured in India. The second half, the first drug, the first molecule will also be manufactured in partnership with Pfizer. And I'm sure we should have both these molecules available globally as they are available to, for example, UK regulator has opened the door. Our regulator will also looking at. In fact, I tell you this, our molnupiravir data has been sitting with the regulator before UK regulator approved. So there is already SECs are looking at it, and I think they will get fast track approval now.
And therefore, would it be safe to say that within the next 1 month there would be a decision on approval for the Merck drug?
I'm pretty confident about this. I think, yeah, the kind of data that is coming out, data which I think Pfizer has announced, which is in public domain now, and the data is unbelievable. 90% plus efficacy of a small molecule against a virus is a phenomenal activity. And I think only thing I will caution Vishnu, that we should be worrying about one aspect: indiscriminate use of these drugs. Because if we start doing that, then we have a serious problem. They will become ineffective, and then we will develop new mutants.
Right.
So this is the caution I will put, which is not the caution for the vaccine, but this is the caution for therapeutics.
Right. So just a clarification, emergency use authorization in India in a very short period of time for just Merck or Pfizer or both?
Merck, I would see faster. Pfizer may take some more time. Yeah.
Right. And how much more time? Just so that, I mean, in terms of understanding the data?
It is not appropriate for me to really delve into regulatory domain, but I am saying our regulator has been working remarkably fast. I give all credit to our regulator, how fast they have worked and helped innovation. And we are part of, like 3 CSI laboratory are sitting with technology of molnupiravir. And a couple of others are sitting with Pfizer technology also. So I think that technology transfer will also happen. Yeah.
Right. Which brings me to my next question, which is cost, Dr. Vishwakarma. Now, America, $700 a dose. That's unlikely for us to be able to afford in a country as large as ours. How much will it cost in India?
They will cost as like, if you remember earlier drugs like, favipiravir and others came, because these are not very complex molecules. Let me tell you. The molnupiravir is synthesized in 3 simple steps. And like I told you, we have 3 technology, 5 company already manufacturing this and stock. I'm sure they will be stockpiling. So I'm not really overtly worried about the cost, because America, it is costly for various other regions, not for the manufacturing cost, because of insurance policy and very complicated healthcare system.
Right.
And I think here when the government of India comes into play, and I think these they will buy in the bulk from these companies and provide to government hospital. And of course, they will have a dual pricing system and a staggered pricing system so that it's available to patients.
So how
both
much
molecules
will it cost,
are not.
Are you looking at $10, $20?
I mean, I would say I would put a guess around, say, to start with initially, like it happened with earlier drug, 2,000 to 3,000 or 4,000 rupees per cycle of treatment. Then it will come down to, you will see, to 500 or 600 or 1,000 rupees. This is how it happens.
This is really interesting. This is, the government of India is targeting between 2,000 and 4,000 rupees for the entire course. Am I correct, sir?
No. So government of India is not targeting. I cannot say that. But I, as a pharmaceutical scientist, is telling you that this is looking at the structure and synthetic route of these molecules and manufacturing in India capacity, because the scale, we operate on a scale.
Yes.
And that is how we bring down the cost. Okay. So this is what I think company like, all our 8-10 top companies will be able to bring down the cost like they did in remdesivir and favipiravir.
And for the entire course. So it's a 5-day course, right? So when you say 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees, you're talking about the entire course, sir?
Yeah, entire course. It may be initially 4,000, 3,000, but eventually it will come down. Because of when demand picks up, it will come down. Yeah.
Quality of manufacture, Dr. Vishwakarma, that's so important. We have world-class generic manufacturers. But as we get into this, to protect our people, the quality of the drugs and monitoring is also so important. So how is that going to be a real priority in the next few months?
So Vishnu, when I said this is India's advantage, India produces medicine which are world class, and that is how we export to all over the world. So I am not at all worried about the quality of because these are small molecules. We know how to make them, and I think our companies will make as good as what Pfizer will make in the United States. So I'm not at all concerned about this. We will make world class drug here and for our own people, and you will see that we will supply to large number of countries outside our country.
All right, Dr. Ram Vishwakarma, that's fantastic news. I think that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Sir, game changer, correct word, Dr. Vishwakarma? It is a game changer?
Yeah. I said final nail in the coffin of the virus by science.
Right, you did say that. All right. Thanks, sir. Dr. Shashank Joshi, Dr. Ishwar Gilada. Dr. Joshi, let me come to you first. About a year back, we were talking about Delta, and on our program you spoke about how Delta was coming in. You were extremely worried. The rollout of the vaccine was slow. How important is it for India to start the rollout of these drugs as soon as possible?
Vishnu, we have three problems in India with these drugs. Number one, these drugs rely heavily on early detection, which means we need to have a rapid test or RT-PCR turnaround to be very fast, because these drugs work best in the first 3 days to 5 days. And that is the challenge. If there is a delayed diagnosis, these drugs won't work. Second, in India, we tend to have indiscriminate use. So we don't want to have a newborn Delta coming out because of these drugs, because of resistance. That's my biggest worry. India has capabilities, I don't doubt. From HIV days, we have seen that we can manufacture both these drugs very easily at even 500 and 1,000 rupees. I think Dr. Vishwakarma was a little more cautious, but if we have enough US FDA approved facilities to ramp up the production, and there won't be any challenge. In fact, this drug is nothing but an incremental innovation beyond favipiravir. Favipiravir had a very high pill burden. It was for 14 days. These drugs, 800 milligram twice a day for 5 days. Molnupiravir is already going to be there. It's already there in the pipeline of the Indian generic manufacturers. They are very capable and competent. So I don't see major challenges there. My worry is it should be used early. It is hit hard, hit early policy. It has to be used in the most effective cases and in the most appropriate cases. It should not be just because you have fever, cough and cold, we should not use it.
Right.
So just like for H1, we have the oseltamivir, and just like for HIV, we have these drugs. We have this drug, molnupiravir, which will definitely be around. Similarly, the Pfizer compound ritonavir boosted pill will be costly. That won't be as cheap as molnupiravir. Let me be very frank. And Pfizer is a complete commercial entity. Even for their vaccine, they have been very stiff and tough. I'm sorry to say that, but they have never been good partners with India. For the vaccine, they never partnered with India. I don't see that happening very easily with them because they are very tough nuts to crack. For them, commerce is about human lives, if I see the way they look at it.
All right.
So, but molnupiravir, Merck has been much more compassionate, and they have been very clear. They've partnered with generic Indian manufacturers right from day one. Of course, but TRIP agreement can be broken because when there is pandemic, we are well within our rights to manufacture the drug indigenously if the data is excellent. Right. For that, of course, Pfizer will have to share their molecular formula, and I feel that is possible. But the Pfizer molecule will cost between 5,000 to 10,000 rupees, or even maybe more expensive, because ritonavir we export it to the world, but it is still an expensive molecule. And
okay, Dr. Joshi, just 1 second. I want to go across to Dr. Ishwar Gilada. Dr. Gilada, firstly, a lot of people would be wondering whether this medication would work for children as well. Would it?
No, they have not done any trial amongst children, so we cannot say that. Firstly, even calling it as a game changer is wrong thing. We have had a lot of game changers in last 1.5 years. And later on, we realized that they are no more game changers.
Okay.
Secondly, this is only a small trial, 775 people trial. Yes. So till we have a large trial and a real-time trial, real-time use, we do not know. Thirdly, Merck and Pfizer, they are not obliging India by giving a voluntary license if at all they give. They are scared of India. Because if they don't give voluntary license, there will be compulsory license. If there is a compulsory license, the drug can go to even America, Canada, in their countries and sell there. So therefore, all these countries, all these companies, they come to India, they give a voluntary license, have a contract with them that you don't ever try to come to our countries. And they give the list of countries, so much so that our manufacturers cannot go to their countries even for the conferences. They cannot have a stall there. They cannot put any product there. So with their safety intention, they are giving voluntary license. So they are not obliging us. Lastly, you are coming on cost. You know, it's a very simple formula. Even WHO is not mathematician. They are making a formula from HIV days. Any new drug, it will cost in India 10%. And after a couple of months, it will cost 1%. So what they are coming about 1% cost is that HIV formula. And India has shown to the world, I will give you example, all these countries, Johnson Johnson, Merck, Pfizer, they used to come to India 15, 20 years back. They came to my clinic, they purchased some of the samples from our clinic. They took it there. After 2 years, we asked them, where are they? I did not see them in a museum. You must have analyzed them in your lab. Yep. You kept quiet. You kept quiet means you know that the Indian drugs are good. So therefore, there's a fight between patents and versus patients. They know that is a pandemic time. They know that if they don't give license, any country will give a compulsory license and their entire business will be down. Right. So they will be in right scenario. As Shashank said, Pfizer may not give. Pfizer and Merck both are similar.
All right.
Merck has a vaccine.
All right.
HPV,
so I understand the points, Dr. Gilada, that you're mentioning. Let's see how it goes forward. The trial size, you're absolutely right, quite small, but hopefully the science is quite good and hopefully more data will emerge soon. We are still fighting against time in fighting COVID. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. We've got a lot of comments which have come in on coups. Sanjay says, does India need to purchase these experimental pills while India vaccination process is doing well? Also, India has crossed the 100 crore vaccine mark recently. So do we need to be doing this since we're doing vaccines so well is a question. And there's another comment. Before doing mass purchase, it is better to wait for results for some more time from other countries. That is a fair thought. Well, we're going to take a short break. Up after that, the shares of the beauty startup Nykaa made a blockbuster debut on Wednesday. We speak to Falguni Nair, India's richest self-made billionaire, and then discuss what Nykaa is all about. Welcome back. It's a blockbuster debut for Nykaa on D Street. Nykaa's IPO has rocketed on listing. It has opened at 2018 rupees. That's up 80%. It is the best listing after a startup, for a startup after Zomato. The founder Falguni Nair's net worth has hit $6.5 billion at the age of 58. She's become India's richest self-made woman billionaire. Nykaa ended the day at 2,208, up 96.3% from its offer price. So it is a fantastic, fantastic day. Earlier on today, we spoke to Falguni as well. Let's listen in to what she said in a little while. First, the significance of what this is all about.
Falguni Nair with her business partner and actor Katrina Kaif at the stellar IPO listing of Nair's startup, Nykaa. The online beauty startup opened 80% higher, making the former banker India's richest self-made woman billionaire, worth about $6.5 billion according to Bloomberg. Her son and daughter, who are also executive directors, feel this is just one stop along the way.
We're very clear that this is really just the beginning and it's just the start. We have to put our heads down and continue working. There's a very long journey ahead and we really just see this as one stop along the way and not the ultimate destination.
The reality is our consumers are young, generally young millennials and Generation Z, and they do enjoy spending time on social media. So it's a great way for us to connect with them on a platform where they feel comfortable. And so we've always leveraged that effectively and we'll continue to do so going forward.
The stock closed up 9.4% and ended the day at 2,208 rupees per share, up 96.3% from the issue price of 1,125 rupees a share. With market cap crossing 1 lakh crore rupees on day one, the Nykaa stock is truly driving optimism and setting a fresh trend on stock exchanges. Sakshi Bajaj for NDTV.
At Nykaa, your beauty is not just our business, it's our passion.
What a day it's been today for the online beauty, makeup, fashion site Nykaa. It means heroine in Sanskrit and it really is the heroine of the day today, listing at nearly 89% above its offer price. And joining me today is someone who's got every reason to celebrate, the driving force behind Nykaa, Falguni Nair. And Ms. Nair, congratulations. And did you expect this? Already in the early morning trade, it crossed 1 lakh crore market cap. And Bloomberg is now saying you're India's richest self-made woman billionaire.
Thank you, Sonia. I think we are just trying to build a great company that is well loved by consumers, and I think a good market reception is very encouraging. So yes, I do agree that it calls for celebration sometime today.
It's been, what a journey it's actually been. Is this something you expected? I mean, the fantastic bit is that it's also a woman-led unicorn. It's also one of the few profitable unicorns. It's really rewritten so many of the stories we've seen around unicorns, IPOs, about women-led businesses. What would you say today when you look at the journey that you've made to get here?
I think I had been an IPO banker and taken a lot of companies to the IPO, and that gave me an excitement to want to start a entrepreneurial journey of my own. So today, culminating in the IPO is a fantastic feeling that one has come so far and developed the maturity to be able to be a listed and traded player in the capital markets.
Mm-hmm. And you said also today that you actually decided to take this leap of faith, as it were, backed of course with your experience just before you turned 50. So you actually defied all stereotypes also to make it here. What's the biggest learning you have, or the learning you'd like to share with all our viewers tonight, who I think will now be looking up to you as a mentor, role model?
No, I think there is definitely a learning that age is no bar, for sure. I hate being counted as women entrepreneur or women this thing. So, but yes, I think one has to break all stereotypes, including gender stereotypes.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think is your biggest learning?
I think the biggest learning is the power of technology. I think when I started this journey, I was embracing e-commerce and internet, but I think the power of technology and its ability to do complex and multiple tasks at scale, and also very agile and personalized conversations with millions of customers simultaneously. And I think all this has been big discoveries that I've really enjoyed learning about, and of course implementing it in our company.
And how do you think really, because how did the idea, you said that of course that you had taken other companies to IPO, but the fact that it was a need perhaps that many may not have felt, because you're so used to buying makeup from just the store, the brand. How did you think this would translate into something which grew also so rapidly? It was interesting, we saw Katrina Kaif also at your listing today as one of your shareholders. What did you see as the opening in the market, and what do you think really clicked and made it take off? Do you think the lockdown helped as well in terms of people just switching to online sites?
I think in 2012 when I started the business, I think beauty was a very big business both in Asia like Japan and South Korea, as well as Europe and US, and somehow in India the beauty business was not taking off. There were adversities in terms of India as a large geographical country, and in the nascent stage of the business it was hard to meet the needs of such a large geographically diverse and also ethnically diverse country with what they like. And I think I felt that with e-commerce we can service this category much better, and that's how we decided to set up a vertical commerce company focused only on beauty. I also believe that education was at the cornerstone of beauty consumption, and for us to be able to grow the beauty consumption, we needed to educate the customer. And again, digitally, that is so very easily possible to educate customers, at scale, and through that education, create demand for products. And I think Nykaa in many ways has created the beauty industry in the country. You may be aware that we own a brand jointly with Katrina Kaif. Mm-hmm. It's called K Beauty. It's a brand that we started together, and she's been very instrumental in helping us build the brand. I mean, she's a joint owner, and also she's conceptualized the brand, and we are building it together. So I think she's a business partner to Nykaa, and that's how she was here today.
And also, I think also democratize it, because now it doesn't matter where you are really. So did you find that interesting, that the kind of different demands or the needs, what did it teach you about India, and what, say, perhaps beauty requirements or needs were or thoughts were? Because what did this whole journey teach you?
I think Indian consumer, deep insight into Indian consumer and how they consume. And I think from early days, I was looking at signs of whether consumer in Varanasi consumes different products than in Delhi, and to our surprise, no. And even today we keep saying that when we look at data of tier 2 and tier 3 consumption, at least on our site, it is very similar to consumption in tier 1. So there is a similar aspirational consumer who wants to consume similar brands even in smaller cities in the country. And I think learning about a much larger India of today beyond Bombay and Delhi has been the most fascinating learning for both me as well as Anchit and Advaita, who are with me in this business.
And you mentioned that you don't like labels. You don't want to be known necessarily as a woman, as a self-made woman billionaire, or as it's not about gender or beauty as such. You're a business person. But it remains the fact that this is usually an area, and especially the startup area, we don't see so many women business role models. Was it difficult for you at all? Did you have to battle any stereotypes, or did you find it a level playing field?
No, I think I have been very fortunate, whether it was how I grew up as an equal in a family, where I think there was no difference between a boy and a girl in terms of the kind of commitment they needed to show towards education or towards work. And I enjoyed similar support system, all throughout, from even my spouse Sanjay. So I don't think in our home there is ever a conversation about, oh, women should not commit themselves to this. I think entrepreneurship is all about deep, deep commitment of time and energy and passion to something that you feel so passionately about. And I think I've been fortunate to be able to pursue my journey without, without any judgment.
And what's wonderful also in the startup world is that we see so many people who are really first generation business people and suddenly billionaires. So in that sense, it's really an inspirational, aspirational model for India today and young people. Do you find young people coming up to you all the time, and do you think that's actually nice, that you don't have to, it doesn't matter whether you're from a business family or not, to make billions today?
Yeah, of course. I've always seen that a lot of young millennials, as I call them, or Gen Z, they're very passionate about creating and building something. They're always looking at new ideas. And when I have conversations with them, I find it very exciting, both for them. They are learning from me, but I'm also equally learning from them.
Right, and of course I'd made this point also about the profitability, and the thing is that Nykaa is one of the few unicorns on the IPOs currently which is actually profitable. So you'll always have the experts or the market experts who will say, be a little bit careful on unicorns because many of them are not in profit yet. You need to be looking at the numbers carefully. Do you think the fact the profitability of your of your company has also given it an edge today in its IPO?
Yeah, of course. I think it's not just about the profitability, but it's also because profitability is also balance between growth and also, pace of growth vis-a-vis the kind of unit economics you're generating from your existing business. I think Nykaa has been very frugal on capital consumption, and also it's been very respectful of the capital it has, and made it work long, go further. And I think that discipline of chasing the right unit economic metrics and also trying to be frugal and very respectful of the capital that you have, I think Nykaa will continue on that journey.
Mm-hmm. And there's been so much hype about many blockbuster IPOs and unicorns coming out, and one of the tags I guess you'll have to get used to is amongst the world's richest. Now, as I said, wealthiest in India as well, the 18th richest family apparently, the latest Bloomberg index. What does that mean to you when you hear this tag of amongst the world's richest?
I don't think anything changes. I think we'll remain the same. And I think we are a family that's very passionate about, creating and building something. We respect hard work. We respect, I think what is important about Nykaa is great corporate governance. I think earlier today you must have seen our bankers, and everybody will say that Nykaa has been a young company, but the corporate governance standards have been fantastic. I think we want to be very balanced on serving all the stakeholders in an equal manner. I think the new age companies have to show a different way of functioning, that where I think today's generation expects you to have a much more measured and balanced growth approach, and I think Nykaa is clearly going to value that, and we also as a family are going to value that.
Fantastic, but I hope you're going to have a celebration tonight, which will be extra special, because this really is a one of a kind day.
I think we are planning to go for dinner to our favorite restaurant, which happens to be at Four Seasons, close to our home. But yes, that's the plan.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we wish you all the best. As I said, it's great to see this blockbuster listing, and congratulations for all the hard work that has gone into today. We wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sonia.
Well, what a fantastic debut on the Lal Street. Joining us now, Dhirendra Kumar, founder and chief executive of Value Research. Sanchita Mukherjee joins us as well, as does Sunil Shanghai, the chairman of the FICCI Capital Markets Committee. Thank you all very much for being with us. What a fantastic day. Sanchita, now, it's remarkable this year. 40 companies have listed on the domestic stock exchange, the highest since 2016. Whoever thought we went through COVID or are still going through COVID? What is this, before we talk about Nykaa, what is this a part of? Another major IPO, what is this a part of, given the state of the economy?
Well, I must say that India right now is almost a cynosure of the globe. And there is so much of focus on India as an economy, as capital markets, and it has become very conducive for Indian companies in the new age to be looked upon as unicorns. And we have, I think, 3 decacorns, which are $10 billion valuation companies. Now, if I were to talk about why this has happened post-COVID, it is not despite the pandemic. It is because of the pandemic. And it is because of the spirit of entrepreneurship that companies have been able to identify the changing consumer lifestyle, the whole lockdown and the social distancing that has been brought about, this humongous digital push and the adoption of new age technologies. Companies have been able to identify, right, and they've been able to tweak and swivel around to the new changing needs of the customer with focus on the market and customer. And that's the proof of the pudding that we're eating right now.
Yep.
So, I mean, Indian companies, if you were to look at it, they have adopted digital like how they have used every rule in the book, from disruptive technologies to artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, data analytics, robotics, and look at the diaspora in the Indian markets. It's varied.
Yeah, no, that's in fact my next question to Sunil Shanghai. Sunil, it's all over the place, our unicorns and their areas of experience, from food delivery to cosmetics to so many other areas. What does this say about the breadth of some of our emerging companies?
Vishnu, purely from the capital markets perspective, if you see, there is one common thread, and which is very interesting, and we need to really celebrate this. In the last 31 years, which I spent in the capital market, we have always heard that we are a capital-starved country, right? We don't have capital, we don't get capital the way China gets. I mean, look at the situation. 3 companies put together, all the 3 names which you took, they raised around, and the market cap is around $50 billion plus. When did we get $50 billion capital? So from capital-starved country, we are actually becoming capital-surplus country, and we should actually celebrate. This is really a big, big landmark. Why is this happening? It's because we have come up with a very nice combination, and you just heard Falguni talking about that. Professional capital, backed by the professional management and the professional governance. We brought in professional governance, which actually helped bringing in this capital. Yep. And it's a celebration time for all of us, not only just the entrepreneur, but also from the consumer, because they embrace these business models.
And Dhirendra Kumar, what's astounding is the entrepreneurship and the spirit of entrepreneurship for somebody who has pursued this at the age of 50, with a company which is relatively new, to actually push this to this level in a short period of time, just shows incredible courage, and incredible conviction, the willingness to take risks and to convince others to fund a vision. That's incredible. I mean, that's what Nykaa today is all about, right? Forget about the cosmetics. Let's talk about the vision. I mean, I find that inspiring.
Undoubtedly, you know, this is a huge achievement, and looking at the scale, visualizing that this is a scalable business, and all her observation that India is a uniform market, similar aspiration, and maybe the pandemic has played a catalyst role in all this. The education bit, what she is telling about. But, you know, I'm still a little apprehensive on one front that, you know, here is a company which will be selling cosmetics, and it is a remarkable company. It's a very impressive company. It has great governance, great, you know, great management, been able to visualize something which was not there. But is it really that 1 lakh crore capitalization justified? You know, when I compared this, and the closest one which comes to in the listing of capitalization is Bharat Petroleum,
right,
or Godrej Consumer Goods. You know, they're a 50-year-old, 100-year-old company. You know, and when I see that somebody has, you know, there has been the capital has been poured into this business. This is a promising business. I don't know what the future is in store. Everybody is very optimistic. This company makes 60 crore, but, you know, valuing it at 100,000 crore, and when it will justify. So there is a possibility. Investors should be a little cautious about this. You know, reasons to be very optimistic, but, you know, there is a possibility that, you know, this company might be a great company, but is this company a great company at 100,000 crore?
Right. No, absolutely. So, you know, I mean, there is exuberance in the markets, a great deal of enthusiasm. A lot of it would certainly be good news, but is it a bit of a bubble? I think that's the question which needs to be asked. You know, I mean, will these expectations come down over a period of time? But we can't prejudge that. I think it's a great day for the markets. I think it's a great day for Nykaa and the spirit of entrepreneurship. I'd like to thank all three of you very much for being with us. We're out of time on Left, Right and Center. It's time for this short break.